Starting off our list at number 10 is Robert Downey Jr. Who would have thought our beloved Iron Man could ever do something that would get him fired from a set? Well, luckily he was never fired from Marvel, but don't think this actor has a clean record. Turns out the actor was a mess before he became Iron Man and was even fired from set on the TV series called Ally McBeal. The series ran from 1997 to 2002 and Downey Jr. was struggling with a drug addiction. During the timeline, he found himself in mugshots and courtrooms on multiple occasions. It wasn't until 2001 when he was arrested once again for a suspicion of being under the influence of illegal substances. It was this arrest that had him kicked off the show. He was let go immediately and written off the show with no future plans to bring back his character. The producer of the show, David E. Kelley, made a statement following the arrest and said the season would wrap without Downey Jr. in it. The producer refused to give a reason for the actor's sudden departure, but Downey later opened up about it with the truth. Since then, it is clear the actor got his act and his career back together, and we are sure happy that he did. Imagine a life without Iron Man. It's just too painful. At number 9 is Chloe Moretz. The actress has a very successful acting career, but one of her roles was swiped from someone who was just a little bit more famous than her. Back in 2008, Chloe was finishing up her work for the voice of Penny in the animated movie Bolt. Turns out, near the end of completion, she was suddenly let go. Production went as far as erasing all of her pre-recorded work, and her role was given to Miley Cyrus instead. Reports say that Miley was coming out of her Hannah Montana fame at the time, and they thought she'd be a bigger hit for the movie. However, Chloe was later offered the role of voicing the young Penny voice, which she agreed to do. The actress claims to have no hard feelings towards Miley and doesn't like discussing it. So, after all of her hard work, she was fired, replaced, and then rehired, but for a smaller role? That girl is way more understanding than I would have been. Taking over the number 8 spot is Danny Masterson. Have you ever wondered what happened to Hyde from the TV series That 70s Show? Well, he was played by the actor Danny Masterson, who has found himself in quite the ordeal since we saw him on the show. For years, the actor has been facing allegations of sexual misconduct, one being as severe as violent rape. However, the actor is known to be a Scientologist, and people debated that he was protected by the church through these allegations. However, the Me Too movement is what helped bring his allegations to the public eye. During the time that it was made public, Masterson was starring on the Netflix series The Ranch, alongside his That 70s Show co-star Ashton Kutcher. It took some time, but in 2017 the actor was fired from set and Netflix announced that he had been let go. The actor won't comment on the show, but continues to deny all these allegations. In our number 7 spot is Cheryl Cole. The actress, singer, TV personality, whatever mask she wants to wear, became famous across the board for being a judge on the UK show of X Factor. Depending on who you ask, you might be told that English accents are one of the sexiest accents to have on men and women. Apparently, the people behind the X Factor don't agree when it comes to Cheryl Cole. Reports say that she was promised a new gig on the American version of the hit British TV show. In 2011, she was asked by Simon Cowell, a Brit himself, to join the judging panel on the American X Factor. However, 2 weeks into filming, she was let go from the show. Reports say she was X'd via text message while on set one day by the one and only Simon Cowell himself. The reasoning behind it apparently was that he and producers were worried that the US audience wouldn't be able to understand her accent. Fans aren't really buying that reasoning, seeing as she was British when they first hired her. At number 6 is Stuart Townsend, the Irish actor who is known for his roles on Law & Order, Salem, Betrayal, and Will and Grace. There's one role he isn't known for though, and that's because he was fired before it ever came out. The actor was cast as Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but was later fired by the director Peter Jackson. Townsend told Entertainment Weekly, "I was there rehearsing and training for 2 months, then was fired the day before filming began." He went on to explain that he was having issues with some of the people involved during his time of rehearsing on set. He said that they wouldn't pay him for his time because he was in breach of contract due to not having worked long enough. Stewart says he was almost relieved to be leaving since he was having some issues, but that was until they said he wouldn't be paid for his 2 months of work. The role ended up being given to Viggo Mortensen instead, and when Townsend was asked about what he thought, his response was, and I quote, "I have no good feelings for those people in charge, I really don't. The director wanted me and then apparently thought better of it because he really wanted someone 20 years older than me and completely different. I don't blame him for having such hard feelings, I would be just as stuff. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Shannen Doherty. The actress managed to get fired from 2 different TV shows, Beverly Hills 90210 and Charmed. Reports say the actress was fired from Charmed after an ongoing feud with co-star Alyssa Milano. According to the Huffington Post, Shannen told Entertainment Tonight, and I quote, "There was too much drama on set and not enough passion for the work." Well, she continued with feuds with Beverly Hills 90210, which ended up having her fired once again for getting into an altercation on set. Her co-star Tori Spelling opened up in 2015 about what really happened, since she is actually the one who technically got her fired. Turns out Shannen and her other co-star Jenny Garth were always at each other's throats, and with Shannon's past of not being so easy to work with, it's really no surprise. It came to a breaking point on set one day when the crew had to physically pull the 2 girls apart because they were in a physical altercation. Tori Spelling went to her dad, who was the producer of the show, and had Shannen fired immediately. Tori said it wasn't easy having her friend fired, but that she still stands by her decision and said it was for the best. At number 4 is Erinn Hayes. The actress was starring on the TV series Kevin Can Wait, with Kevin James playing her husband. She played the comedian's wife for 2 years, which is why the audience was so shocked when her character had suddenly died on the show and the actress was let go. Erinn was suddenly fired from the show without any explanation, she told reporters. According to James himself, he said the show needed to kill her character off the show in order for it to drive forward. Erinn said she was hurt by the whole thing and began liking tweets from fans who said they were boycotting the show following her departure. To make matters even worse, they added someone in her place, not to be his wife but to be a series regular role. Kevin James brought back his former TV wife Leah Remini, who starred with him on King of Queens. Fans have gone on to say that the show is more of a King of Queens reboot than anything, but anything for ratings, right? Alright guys, at number 3 we have Eric Stoltz. The actor was the first one to be cast as Marty McFly in the legendary Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox is the actor attached to that name, but that's only because he replaced Eric during the filming process. Only a few weeks into filming, the director Robert Zemeckis and the writer Bob Gale realized that Eric wasn't the right fit for the part. They said he was a fine dramatic actor, but he wasn't bringing the certain energy that they were looking for. Eric is a theater-trained actor, but still has a very successful career in the film industry. Apparently, it just wasn't the right fit for this part. One day he was fired unexpectedly, and they immediately brought in Michael J. Fox to fill in. All the scenes he had already filmed were shot again with Michael in his place. Here we are at number 2 with Suzanne Somers. The actress has been around for decades with a very successful career, but her prime time was during 1977 to 1981 when she was starring on the hit TV series Three's Company. She won a People's Choice Award for Favorite Female Performer and also earned a Golden Globe nomination for Best TV Actress. She was a household name and was making countless TV appearances. However, in 2015, a story made headlines sharing the real reason that Suzanne left the show all those years ago. Turns out she was fired. In 1980, her career came to a halt when she asked ABC for a salary raise to match her co-star John Ritter. They were heading into their 5th season negotiations, and she asked for her pay to hike from $30,000 an episode to $150,000, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Not only that, but she also wanted 10% of the show's profits. Instead, ABC offered her a $5,000 salary increase. As a result of the negotiations, Suzanne began to boycott the 3rd and 4th shows of the new season, using excuses like old back injuries and such. Classic. ABC decreased her role to 60 seconds per episode, and she filmed separately from the rest of the cast. Eventually, they just terminated her contract out of the blue, and she was replaced with Jenna Lee Harrison. Taking the number 1 spot is Clayne Crawford, who caused a lot of controversy when he was fired from his role on Lethal Weapon. The actor was labeled as an emotional terrorist by fans who made up posters and posted them around LA. During his time on the show, he was always under the spotlight for his on-set behavior, mainly for his tension with co-star Damon Wayans. Enough was enough, and in 2018, Clayne was fired from the show. Fox announced his dismissal, and his recasting was in the public eye for weeks. Once they announced the show was renewed for season 3 and that Sean William Scott would be taking over his role, Damon went to social media to share his side of the story. He ended up posting a graphic video and image of him shooting a scene which Clayne was actually directing. The video shows him being hit in the head by shrapnel from a special effects explosion. The kicker about it was that the explosion happened on the opposite side where he was actually hit on his head. The actor believes it was planned especially because he never received an apology from Clayne or an explanation for it, but he was left with a bloody gouge mark on his head instead. Clayne never spoke publicly on what really happened, he just posted a dramatic had a goodbye picture on his Instagram page. Starting off the list at number 10 is Bruce Willis, who happened to get fired from the movie The Expendables 3. We all found out about this through Twitter back in 2013 when the cast was being announced for the movie. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Willis had been offered $3 million for 4 days of shooting. Problems began when he started demanding a pay raise to $4 million for the 4 days, so basically $1 million per day. That's when Sylvester Stallone, the co-founder of The Expendables, let the actor go immediately. Not only did he fire him, but he also took it to Twitter, tweeting out, "Greedy and lazy, a sure formula for career failure." Within 72 hours of Bruce being let go from the movie, he was replaced by the one and only Harrison Ford. Fans found out once again through Sylvester's Twitter. He tweeted out, "Willis out, Harrison Ford in. Great news, been waiting years for this." People were shocked that he would be let go and replaced so quickly, but I mean, can you really blame them? I don't think anyone in this entire world deserves to be paid $1 million a day. That is absurd. At number 9 is Lisa Kudrow, who was fired from the hit TV show Frasier. That's right, before the actress found fame as Phoebe Buffay on Friends, she appeared in the pilot for Frasier. She was originally cast to play Frasier's producer named Roz, but she was fired just after one episode and was replaced with Perry Gilpin. In 2017, the casting director Jeff Greenberg has opened up about the recasting and admitted that it was a horrible idea for him to make the switch. He said, "Kelsey Grammer came in and read with 5 or 6 of them, and our 2 favorites were Lisa Kudrow and Perry Gilpin. We tested them at NBC and they chose Lisa. She was great. However, when they showed the pilot to a test audience, things started to turn away from Lisa's favor. The casting director said they believed Lisa's version of the character wasn't well received. But at the end of the day, it worked out the best for Lisa, who ended up becoming very successful not too long after." Sliding to the number 8 spot is Lindsay Lohan, who was let go from the movie The Other Side back in 2010. Before that, her last appearance on the big screen was in her 2007 flick called I Know Who Killed Me. She was trying to make her comeback and she was thrilled to be involved in The Other Side. However, sources say she was let go because she wasn't bankable. The actress was making headlines and it wasn't the good kind of publicity. At the time, the writer and director David Michaels told TMZ, "Our team simply chose to move on from Lindsay and will be announcing a replacement soon." Fans were shocked, but Lindsay wasn't all that surprised. In the past, she has spoken openly about her issues in Hollywood and admitted that it's hard for people to give her a chance. She said, "There's not much I can do about the fact that I've become kind of a tabloid obsession. I can't change that. And yes, the websites, the gossip pages, and all of that stuff have hurt my career. They're like the burn books of Hollywood." Good news is MTV has recently given her a chance, and the actress launched her own MTV show this year called Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club, which had a successful first season. Taking our number 7 spot is Christian Bale, who was fired from American Psycho. I know you're probably confused, so give me a chance to explain. It was a very weird twist of events. Here's what happened. Bale was originally offered the role of Patrick Bateman, but the studio later decided to hire Leonardo DiCaprio instead. Lionsgate announced DiCaprio's casting at the Cannes Film Festival in May of 1998. Bale was completely thrown off by the news because he was hired for the role but not properly fired. But their new hire ended up screwing them over because DiCaprio wasn't pleased with the movie and had some issues with the script and plot. So over some time, he decided to bail on the film and signed onto a different project. Luckily, Bale was forgiving and the role landed back in his lap. So basically, I'm not sure what list he should be on because he was basically fired through a public announcement, replaced, rehired, and replaced Leo with himself, who was the original one to be hired. So let's just move on. In at number 6 is Janet Hubert, who was fired from the hit TV show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The ongoing feud between the actress and her co-star Will Smith has made headlines on many occasions. The two of them worked on the show together for years. Janet played his Aunt Viv in the first 3 seasons. By the end of the 3rd season, she was fired and replaced with Daphne Maxwell Reid, who took on the role in the 4th, 5th, and 6th season. The show portrayed a very loving and close family bond, but apparently the off-screen feud between the two of them became a big problem. Smith openly talks about the feud and told Jet magazine, and I quote, "I can say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be called the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air. The Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show. No matter what, to her, I'm just the Antichrist." He went on to explain that she was constantly demanding things that were just unreasonable. Janet responded to his comments in the interview and stated, "He has got me fired from the show and now he's trying to snatch my career away from me." To this day, the two stars have never resolved their issues. She didn't even show up for the reunion, but no one was really surprised by it. Some of the cast members shared photos on Instagram though, and you can't help but wonder if she misses being a part of the hilarious family that we all came to love. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Lori Petty, who was tossed from the movie Demolition Man and then quickly replaced. Back in the early 90s, Lori Petty was ready ready for a breakout in her career. She was part of some of the era's most memorable movies like A League of Their Own, Free Willy, Point Break, and Tank Girl. So she was pretty stoked when she was cast in the 1997 action film Demolition Man, starring alongside Sylvester Stallone. But that excitement didn't last long, as Laurie wasn't a fan of her character and got into arguments with the producer Joe Silver over the writing of the script. Eventually the arguments were just too much and she was fired from the role. Not too long after, Sandra Bullock was brought in for the role. Alright guys, at number 4 is James Remar, who is fired from Aliens. The actor really shouldn't need an introduction since he is such a legend in the acting industry, but I'll give him one anyways. He's been acting for over 30 years, building an impressive resume to say the least, taking on roles in Transformers, Dark of the Moon, Pineapple Express, Django Unchained, and many more, which is why it was super confusing when he was suddenly let go from Aliens. It's not a subject that gets brought up much in documentaries about the film, and the cast and crew rarely mention it during interviews. Remar's first claim when it happened was that he had urgent matters at home that tore him away from the shoot. It wasn't until 2014 that he opened up and told the real story. Turns out he was fired because he was charged with drug possession. The actor said, "I had a terrible drug problem. I was initially cast as Corporal Hicks and I was fired after a few weeks of filming because I got busted for possession of drugs." Not long after he left, Michael Biehn replaced him for the part. Remar has no problem talking about it now and says that he got through his horrible drug habit. Here we are at number 3 with Sylvester Stallone, who was axed from Beverly Hills Cop back in 1984. Not long after his third Rocky and his first Rambo movies, he was set out to play Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop. It was in development with Paramount and the actor was offered the role, to which he accepted. The role was a Detroit police detective, which ended up being played by Eddie Murphy instead. Why? Because apparently Stallone wasn't a huge fan of the script. During interviews, the actor was first to admit that he didn't think he wanted to do the film after all because he thought the script would affect his tough guy image. So the actor insisted on rewriting the role the way he wanted it, even though he was told not to. He said, "Ron told me don't change it, but I took the script and rewrote it as kind of a compromise where the guy was action oriented, but he also had a wry sense of humor." The producers were not pleased and immediately rejected his new script. That's when he told them that he wouldn't do the movie without the original script, so they pulled the plug and let the actor go. Thanks to him, Eddie Murphy had a breakthrough in his acting career for taking on the role with the original script. At number 2 is Roseanne Barr, who was fired from her own show, Roseanne. How does that even happen? You have to do something pretty serious to be fired from your own show. And well, she did. Her show was the most popular new TV show in America and it got cancelled in just a matter of hours, all because of a few derogatory tweets. Roseanne went on some sort of Twitter rant where she tweeted out racist and derogatory tweets. Some of them were aimed directly at Barack Obama's aide, Valerie Jarrett, comparing her to Planet of the Apes and the Islamic Brotherhood. Fans were outraged and so was everyone involved in her show. When ABC saw her overnight tweets the next day, the key executives were having conference calls with the president of Disney/ABC Group, the CEO of Disney, and her boss Ben Sherwood. Roseanne ended up tweeting out an apology and said she would be leaving Twitter, however she never actually left. Not long after, ABC confirmed the cancellation of the show. Realistically, the show couldn't go on without her, and they said that there was no way of coming back from this. The ABC executive announced that more than 200 people involved in the show also lost their jobs due to the cancellation. Barr tweeted out a response apology and said, "Don't feel sorry for me, guys. I just want to apologize to the hundreds of people and wonderful writers and talented actors who lost their jobs on my show due to my stupid tweet." Well, at least she apologized. Taking our number 1 spot is Adam Sandler, who was fired from SNL back in 1995. The actor has always said that he has no idea why he was fired from the show, but he wasn't the only one. When it first happened, he called his friend Chris Farley, who also starred on SNL with him, and he told Adam that he was fired too. The reasoning has always been a mystery, but now it's something the actor can poke fun at. Just a few weeks ago, after 24 years, he made his way back on SNL and sang a comedic song about how he was fired from the show. He started out with a monologue about how happy he was to be back on the show and how he is thrilled to bring his wife and children with him. He said, "My daughter asked me if this was the greatest, Dad, then why did you leave? Well, honey, there's a reason." That's when he breaks into a song called Fired by NBC. One of his final lines of the song is, "I was fired, yeah I was fired. NBC said I was done, but then I made more than $4 billion at the box office, so I guess you could say I won." He continues laughing at his own jokes and the audience laughed along with him. But like, I actually want to know why he was fired in the first place. Starting off our list at number 10 is Anne Hathaway. She's known for a variety of her successful movies, but one of them she wasn't known for because she was fired and replaced. You might remember the movie Knocked Up, which came out in 2007 and starred Seth Rogen and Katherine Heigl. Well, it turns out Hathaway was the first one to be hired for the role of Allison in the movie, not long into filming, and became aware of the details of a childbirth scene that was needed to be filmed. She told the director and producers that she wasn't comfortable with the graphic scene and that she thought the depiction of it was disgusting. She got into an argument with the director because she wasn't willing to do it, so she was fired and later replaced with Katherine Heigl, who clearly had no issue filming the disgusting scene. At number 9 we have Ryan Gosling. Hollywood's heartthrob was also dismissed from a set, but not because of an argument. It's no surprise that the actor is praised for his ripped abs and chiseled face, but when he changed his look for a role, it backfired on him. Gosling was hired to play a key role in the movie The Lovely Bones, but later was fired from set. When he first got hired, he weighed about 150 pounds, carrying around his biceps and his six-pack of abs. But Gosling thought that he should be heavier to take on the dad role. He gained 60 pounds and started to grow out his beard. However, while on set, the director Peter Jackson had a very different vision for the part, so he let Gosling go and replaced him with Mark Wahlberg. You would think the director and actor would communicate a little bit better when it comes to the appearance of the character, but apparently not in this case. Not only did Ryan lose the part, but he also packed on the weight for no reason. Taking over the number 8 spot is Natalie Portman. She was first cast to take on the role of Juliet in the 1996 Romeo and Juliet movie. She was supposed to star alongside Leonardo DiCaprio, who was playing Romeo. But after filming began, the filmmakers realized that her young complexion made her look like she was a little girl next to Leo, which technically she was because Leo was 21 years old at the time and she was only 14 years old. Natalie admitted herself in later interviews that the scenes looked inappropriate and screamed child molestation. She was let go from set one day in a civil manner and was later replaced by Claire Danes. In at number 7 is Leah Remini, a well-known actress for her show The King of Queens and her recent movie with J-Lo, Second Act. She's also known for being one of the hosts on The Talk. The hosts seem to come and go on the talk show as headlines have flooded with various people being fired and replaced, while Leah is one of the many who was fired from the job in 2012. Apparently, Sharon Osbourne has power over the other hosts and also producers. The two of them often butt heads and had disagreements while on set with each other. Leah was unexpectedly fired from set one day, which made headlines because the feud went to Twitter. Sharon tweeted out that she had nothing to do with the actress getting fired. In 2015, Leah told Closer that Sharon thought her and her co-host Holly Robinson Peete were ghetto. Coincidentally, Holly was also fired not long after Leah was. In the number 6 spot is Selma Blair, known for her continuous role on the TV show Anger Management, where she co-starred with Charlie Sheen. The actress played Dr. Kate Wales, Charlie's therapist and friend, for 33 episodes over 2 different seasons. The two of them never got close, and she claims he is the reason she was eventually fired from the show. She complained to show management that he, and I quote, was a menace to work with. Deadline Hollywood reported that Sheen admitted to firing her through a text which he labeled her as a C-word. After she complained to the show management, she quickly realized her dismissal was in Sheen's control. His family company, Sheen Productions, helps make the show, so they took her complaints as talking behind the actor's back and criticizing his work. She went on to file a lawsuit against the production company, demanding that they owe her $1.2 million that she would have made on the show if she would have stayed. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Thomas Gibson, known for many of his roles but mainly for playing Aaron Hotchner in CBS series Criminal Minds. The actor had a huge reputation built from being on the show for so many seasons, but ruined it all by one mistake. The actor was fired from set after having an altercation on set with the executive producer Virgil Williams. According to TMZ, Gibson's termination was a long time coming. He was first ordered to attend anger management classes after he punched an assistant director in the face back in 2010. Sources say Gibson was, and I quote, aggressive and verbally abusive for years on the set of Criminal Minds. 6 years later, in 2016, he lashed out and kicked Williams after a heated argument over the script. They sent him home immediately and originally just for a 2-week suspension, but the producers and network decided it was best to terminate him, so they did. And at number 4 we have Columbus Short, an actor who had made it by starring on the hit TV show Scandal. He played Harrison Wright on the series from 2012 to 2014, but was let go because of his drug addiction and trouble with the law. He was arrested for felony battery after a brawl took place at a bar, and also got arrested for a domestic violence incident involving his wife. Not only did the actor have legal issues, he also had troubles quitting his cocaine addiction. When it came to be too much, the show decided to let him go on set one day and killed his character off the show. Back in 2014, Short opened up about his addiction during an interview with Access Hollywood Live. He admitted, I quote, "I'll be candid, I was struggling with drugs. I had a lot on my plate and I was using unhealthy ways to kind of self-medicate and deal with a lot of heavy-duty stuff in my life." When they asked him what types of drugs he was abusing, his response was, "I was doing cocaine and drinking a lot." He openly apologized to everyone involved with the show and also to all of his fans. Alright guys, at number 3 we have Nicolette Sheridan, known as one of the divas on Desperate Housewives. Although they were all considered to be divas, Nicolette might have been the biggest drama queen of them all. Reports say she constantly clashed with the show creator Mark Cherry, which led to her being dismissed from the show unexpectedly one day. Her character was killed off in April 2009 during one of the episodes, and Nicolette filed a lawsuit against Cherry and Touchstone Television for wrongful termination. She began to air out a bunch of dirty laundry, making claims that Cherry hit her in the head and that ABC fired her in retaliation for reporting the assault. Cherry admitted to touching her but said it was only a demonstration of how to enact a comedic moment during a scene. The case went to trial and the director stated that her character's death had been in the show's plan for months. He went on to say that her termination was because of differences and her unprofessional behavior. The trial ended with a mistrial and the appeals were rejected. The actress was left out of a job and with no compensation. Here at number 2 we have Charlie Sheen. You can't even act like you are surprised to see him on this list. We all heard about how the actor went wild back in 2011, making jokes that it was tiger blood racing through his veins, which we later found out that it was cocaine. The actor began feuding with the creator of the TV show 2.5 Men, Chuck Lorre. Sheen took it to social media and began attacking him through tweets and nasty interviews by calling him a maggot and other derogatory terms. Sheen said in an interview that he was showing up to work the following Monday no matter what. Well, that didn't last long, because Lorre immediately fired the actor and stopped production for the remainder of the season. The 9th season continued on without him, with Ashton Kutcher taking the lead instead. Taking our number 1 spot is Mama June, known as the mom on TLC's show Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. Let me just start off by saying, although she stars on her own TV show, she is not considered a talented actor in my opinion. It still shocks me that somehow she even got her own show in the first place. But in October 2014, news broke that she was dating a 53-year-old registered sex offender who allegedly molested her daughter. Her oldest daughter came forward as a victim of the molestation, but Mama June refused to give up her boyfriend Mark McDaniel. TLC stepped up and let her go on a day of scheduled filming and told her they would be canceling the entire show. She went on to start a weight loss journey, which landed her another show on WeTV called Mama June From Not to Hot. The show documented her life for 3 seasons, which showed her weight loss surgery and 300-pound weight loss. However, on March 13th of this year, she was arrested at a gas station in Alabama for drug possession. There are no further updates yet, but she may be fired from her second show. Starting off the list at number 10 is Kevin Spacey. Back in October 2017, the actor was accused of sexually assaulting a minor many years before. He denied the allegations, but still issued an apology following the allegations, probably hoping that it would be enough and everything would kind of just blow over. But that is not what happened. At the time, he was the star and producer of the hit Netflix TV series House of Cards, and was suspended immediately when the accusations first surfaced. But ultimately, they decided to fire him and the show would wrap up one final season without him, of course. In December 2018, he was charged with indecent assault and battery regarding an 18-year-old boy's allegations, but by July 2019, the criminal charges were all dropped. Despite the legal outcomes though, his acting career won't ever be the same again. Next up at number 9 is Isaiah Washington. He started to have a bad rep back in 2006 when reports surfaced that he had used a gay slur on the set of Grey's Anatomy towards his co-star TR Knight, who came out as gay shortly after. Isaiah issued an apology, which helped him gain some forgiveness from people, but not everyone. He stirred up another controversy the following year at the 2007 Golden Globes when he was caught uttering another gay slur while backstage. He then issued a second apology and admitted that he had used the slur and that ABC had him to go through a counseling program. That is a good idea. However, they couldn't be so forgiving to the actor who just kept repeating the same mistake, so they fired him from the Grey's Anatomy series just a few months later. Swiping the number 8 spot is Thomas Gibson. He played Aaron Hotchner on the TV series Criminal Minds from 2005 all the way until 2016. He was the frontrunner of the entire show, to be honest, but even though he had a significant part in the show, it did not stop them from firing him after he got into an altercation on set. Turns out he had an issue with one of the lines, so he brought it up to a producer, which wasn't well received. Gibson asked for the line to be changed, and when the writer-producer Viggo Williams approached Gibson about it, the altercation happened. The actor describes his side of the story and says, "He came into the room and started coming towards me. As he brushed past me, my foot came up and tapped him on the leg. If I hadn't moved, he would have run into me. We had some choice of words, for which I apologized the next day, and that was it. It was over, we shot the scene, I went home, and I never got to go back." I mean, I think it's kinda obvious that he's basically underplaying this whole thing. Kinda reminds me of an excuse you use like when you were a kid. Like I would kick my sister and then be like, "No dad, she just tripped over my foot." Like come on, poor excuse, your foot didn't just go up and tap his leg. Up next at number 7 is Lisa Bonet. From the years 1984 to 1991, she played Denise on the TV series The Cosby Show. She played the oldest daughter of the family, whose dad was played by the one and only Bill Cosby himself. Her character was a fan favorite, so much that she was given her own spin-off show called A Different World. But she was written out of The Cosby Show, which ultimately ended her character as a whole. The reason she was fired was because she became pregnant and engaged to musician Lenny Kravitz after her first season of A Different World. The producers wrote her character out of the show and focused on other characters instead. At first, they actually allowed her to return to The Cosby Show, but she was also written off of that one as well, and wasn't even invited to appear in the show's finale. So to sum it all up, they did not end on good terms. At number 6 is Danny Masterson. You might know him as Hyde from the series That 70s Show. This one was a huge ordeal, so if you missed it, you might be living under a rock. Danny had allegations against him that went on for years, accusing him of sexual misconduct, including a violent rape case. He is known to be involved in the Scientology church, which is probably why he was protected by the church for a while, before the Me Too movement brought it to light. He was starring in the Netflix series called The Ranch alongside Ashton Kutcher when he faced the heat. It took some time, but Netflix eventually announced in December 2017 that Danny was let go from the show. Any charges that were filed were eventually dropped, and he continues to call them, I quote, outrageous allegations, and also says that he is very disappointed in Netflix's decision to write his character off the show. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Charlie Sheen. He was once the highest paid actor, earning $1.8 million an episode for his role on 2.5 Men. But his career went on a break in January 2011 when he entered a rehab facility regarding his long history of alcohol and drug abuse. This is not a secret to anyone. We could never forget the time he was on cocaine and told us that he had tiger blood flowing through his veins. On top of the multiple rehab visits, he also had domestic charges against him by a variety of women. His reputation was suffering, and when he got out of rehab, he demanded a 50% raise from the show, as if $1.8 million wasn't enough. When it was denied, he publicly insulted the co-creator of the show, Chuck Lorre, which is when he was dismissed from the series. The things he said about Chuck were too explicit and inappropriate for me to even say on here, but one example to give you some perspective is he told him to suck his butt. So yeah. Taking over the number 4 spot is Nicolette Sheridan. She is known to be one of many divas on Desperate Housewives. In fact, she might be the biggest one of them all. Over her time on the show, reports claim that she was constantly clashing with the show's creator, Mark Cherry. The feud's and tensions were so bad that she was dismissed from the show, and her character was killed off in April 2009 during one of the episodes. Nicolette ended up filing a lawsuit against him and Touchstone Television for wrongful termination. I mean, I get it. No one wants to find out their character dies through an episode that they weren't even in. But she didn't remain very professional and started to air out a bunch of dirty laundry. She claimed that Cherry hit her on the head one day and said that ABC fired her because she reported the assault. Cherry admitted to it but said it was not a hit and that he touched her during a demonstration of how to enact a comedic moment during a scene. The case did end up going to trial, but all of her appeals were rejected, so she was left without a job and with no compensation. Alright, coming into 3rd place is Shannen Doherty. Really, she could take 1st place because she managed to get fired from 2 shows, Beverly Hills 90210 and Charmed. Reports say she was fired from Charmed after an ongoing feud with her co-star Alyssa Milano. Apparently, she can't get along with any of her co-stars because the feuds continued when she worked on Beverly Hills 90210. She ended up getting fired after she got into a physical altercation on set. If there is one thing a workplace will not tolerate, no matter what job it is violence. After throwing punches at one of her co-stars, Jenny Garth, she was fired for her bad behavior. Her other co-star, Tori Spelling, actually had her fired because her dad was the creator and producer of the show. She went to him immediately after the altercation and she was let go immediately. Tori later admitted that it did put her in this very uncomfortable position, but says that she did the right thing. At number 2 is Columbus Short, known best for his role on the hit TV series Scandal. He played Harrison Wright on the series between the years 2012 to 2014, but his own real-life scandal is what had him fired after having allegations of domestic violence against him. The worst part is that they came from his own wife at the time. She ended up getting a restraining order against him after claiming that he put a knife to her throat and threatened to kill her. He openly admits to having a drug addiction at the time, but knows that it does not act as an excuse. The show ended up letting him go and killed his character off the series. He confirmed his departure from the show by releasing a statement saying, "At this time I must confirm my exit from a show I've called home for 3 years, with what is the most talented ensemble in television today." Well, at least he went out gracefully, after holding a knife to his wife's throat. Taking the number 1 spot on our list is Jussie Smollett, who starred in the TV series Empire. He has taken our number 1 spot because I have an update for you guys. If you have been following our channel, you would know that he's been on a few of our lists recently after he was arrested earlier this year in January 2019. If you don't know the story, his story broke the news when he went to the hospital earlier this year saying he was attacked by 2 men who were yelling out racial and homophobic slurs and even poured a chemical substance on him. 20th Century Fox and Fox Entertainment offered their support to the actor after the attack was reported, as did many fans who were seeing this as a serious hate crime. 2 men who were suspected of the crime were arrested and charged, and that is when all the truth came out in the courtroom. The men ended up pulling out signed checks from Jussie showing that he had actually paid them to stage the entire thing. $3,500 in case you're wondering. On February 21st, Jussie was arrested on suspicion of filing a false police report. The producers of Empire cut his character from the final 2 episodes of the current season at the time and said they would be considering all options for the future. Well, update. The charges were dropped, but Fox officially announced just last month in August that he will not be returning to Empire ever. Fans are actually in support of this because he didn't face any penalty for what he did wrong, so this is kinda like some bad karma.